Hey guys, Jake the Sports here. Here with you on a late Saturday night. Currently 11:40 at night. Gotta keep it a little quieter here for the family sleeping. But yeah, guys, I had some free time and these games were wild this weekend. So we're just gonna kind of dive into them, and I'm gonna go over all the games, even the non-significant or the ones that people don't think matter, like these that actually do to me personally. Um, so we'll go over all those games, and then we will take a look at the current rankings before. I'm trying to see the playoffs rankings last week, and we're gonna go through. I believe the 9 teams that still have a shot at making the playoffs, which is crazy. Very rarely do you see 9 teams with a chance to make the playoff this late into the season. It is wild. But we are going to dive right into it. So let's do it. Taking a look, guys, I'm not going to be making a follow-up video on this game. I watched a good portion of it. Notre Dame dominated. Simple. Yeah, I know. Wake Forest is terrible, dude. It doesn't mean much. Every single hope and dream Notre Dame had this season, failure on every aspect and every level. So at the end of the day, yeah, it's nice to get a win like this and not dropping a stupid game. Let's do the same against Stanford going into our next game. But guys, it doesn't matter. It doesn't show much to me. This was like the Pitt game. You took care of business. The Wake Forest is not good. They're not good. So I really just can't. I can't get impressed. You should have beaten Clemson last week. We should be in a New Year's 6 currently. It's unfortunate we're not. So it is what it is. Surprisingly, they did control time of possession. I did not know that, but that was very interesting. I want to save time for the other games, so let's talk about this. Georgia Tech makes a bowl. Brent Key gets it done. Not a lot of people. Guys, sorry about the ads, by the way. But guys, look at this schedule. Who thought after losing to Boston College that this team would make a bowl game? Raise your hand. Not me. Not me. They clutched. They clutched. Plain and simple. They got it done against Syracuse, and the Yellow Jackets are going bowling. They're not beating Georgia, though. They will get dominated. Syracuse, they have a chance against Wake Forest. We'll see. You never know. Georgia dominates Tennessee. Ohio State dominates. Michigan struggles. We will talk about that game. I have a lot, and I mean a lot, to say about Michigan. Same with Florida, guys. Same with Florida. I have a lot to say. Same with Washington, Oregon, Texas. They get it done. Are these just the rankings? No, these are all the games. Okay. Any other games? No, I watched this game. Sunbelt Billy Napier still can't win on the road. Can you figure that out, sir? Please? Please? Apparently can't. Missouri, man, they got to be shooting themselves in the foot for this LSU loss and the Georgia loss. I mean, they are a good team, guys. They deserve a year 6. Great team right there, Missouri. Not making the playoff though. Same with Ole Miss, 2 losses. You're not making the playoff with 2 losses if you don't win your division. It's that simple. Iowa, still no offense, managed to win 9 games, guys. 9 games. They should have won this game, too. They should have won this game. Iowa could be sitting here with 1 loss if they didn't call back that fair catch, which is crazy to me. Their defense is so good. National championship level, but their offense is putrid. Arizona, this team is heated up big time, guys. Man, you look at Arizona's schedule earlier in the season, you want some of these games back. I mean, they should have won. If Arizona and USC played today, Arizona would blow them out, dude. That's crazy. Look at this. the Pac-2 championship. Oh man. Oh. But yes, if USC's sitting there, or if they beat USC and pull off a win over Missouri, like guys, look at these losses. These are close losses. Arizona State, in my opinion, right now, one of the best 10 teams in the country. I'm dead serious. I am dead serious. They are that good. They have heated up. Clemson getting it done once again. Cade Klubnik, does he know what he's doing finally? Yeah, Notre Dame made him heat up. Jeez, that loss was horrible. Any other games of note? Tulane looks like your front runner now in the group of 5 for that New Year's 6 spot. As we can see, where is it? Yep, James Madison hosted game day and they lost. Tough way to go out. Double overtime. Liberty, people are going to say, why not Liberty? Guys, their conference is horrendous. UMass is awful. Look at how many points they gave up to UMass. UMass's offense is putrid. I do not blame the committee for not ranking them, although it is probably deserved after this. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, yeah, New Mexico State embarrassed Auburn. That was sad. How did Auburn get to 6? Who did Auburn beat to get to 6 wins? Started out 3-0, 3-4, beat Miss State. Okay. I literally have not kept track of Auburn like at all since they lost 3 in a row. And then this was the last one that, in my opinion, nobody really cared about, but that mattered to me. Nebraska, Wisconsin. Nebraska once again cannot get it done, and it's going to come down. Is it going to come down to Iowa? It's going to come down to Iowa. They're going to have to beat the Hawkeyes at home at 12 in their house. They apparently sell out every year, which honestly, I'm pretty sure it's just the boosters buying tickets, but we'll roll with it. They're going to have to win this game if they want to make a bowl game. Guys, they were 6-3. You lose by 3 to Sparty. You need that game back, man. Same with Maryland. Should have had that one, and you should have had the Wisconsin game. I mean, look back. You should have won this Minnesota game too. They really should only be sitting here with 2 losses. Split that in half. They're still at least making a bowl game. They're sitting with 7 wins. Matt Rule needs to figure out how to win these close games. I mean, look at their wins. They're not really close. Every single close game, they lose. It's going to come down to Iowa. It's going to be another close game. Iowa, look at Iowa. Iowa plays everyone close. Period. And that's how it's going to be. Look at this. 10-7. That was a blowout. 10-6. 11. 2. 3. That was a blowout. And 2. So I mean, you're not scoring more than 15 against Iowa. It's gonna come down to, can you hold Iowa under 15? That's the real test. So we'll see. We will see. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, let's go to the rankings, guys. And I have a lot to say. So here are your college football playoff rankings. And we are only going to focus on these teams. And Missouri is out of it. Don't get me wrong, they're out of it. But I'm going to talk about them because I think it is significant that Missouri's in front of Louisville. But we will talk about that. Okay. Georgia, number 1. They took care of business today, dismantling the Hill Jacks in Rocky Top. Tennessee got blown out of the water. Georgia looks like a legit team. I want them to. Listen, I know I keep saying this. I think Tennessee and Ole Miss are frauds. I think that Missouri game was legit, and I think Missouri's a legit team. They did not. Georgia did not win by much, though. Like, Georgia's an untested team. I really don't know how good Alabama is. It's tough to say, but I really think that there's so much parity this season that maybe that's just like Georgia is one of, if not the best team, even though they're not as good as teams in years past, if that kind of makes sense. Like, I feel like take the 2018 playoff or the 2019 playoff. Yeah, 2019 playoff. LSU, Ohio State, Clemson. All three of those teams, they're winning the national championship this year without a doubt. With the team and roster in that time, if you literally teleport that team and put them on a roster today, they're winning the national championship from any three of those teams. If that makes sense. Maybe even Kyler Murray's Oklahoma. Probably not. Their defense was horrible. And also, yeah, Trojan man, you have 5 losses. That is pathetic. Meant to touch on that too. Yeah, USC is terrible. But getting back to the point, Georgia's going to stay at number 1. The path for Georgia, I'm going to give you the path for every team. Georgia, it's simply to win out. It's simply to win out. That's all you have to do. And if you lose to Alabama, I don't think you're guaranteed to be in. Look here. Let's say Georgia loses to Alabama in the SEC championship. They're both sitting there with 1 loss. Bama's got the edge though because they have the championship win. Let's say Texas wins out. We'll say Oregon. Say Oregon wins. Florida State wins and Michigan wins. Michigan 1. We'll say Oregon 2. Texas 3. Alabama 4. Wait, did we forget Florida State too? Michigan 1. Oregon 2. Texas, let's say Texas wins out. I mean, there's just so many scenarios here. The SEC could be left out. Think about it this way. You're not leaving. Listen, guys, I'm going to touch on Florida State, and they are not an insane team, but the reality is that they're undefeated and they're a Power 5 team. You're not going to leave them out. The only scenario where a Power 5 team ever gets left out of the playoff that's undefeated is if there are 4 other undefeated Power 5 teams, and that's not the case this year. In this scenario where Georgia and Alabama have 1 loss, they both have a loss. Florida State is getting in over you. I'm sorry. That's just how it's going to be. And Michigan will get in. And, guys, can you imagine how outraged the community will be if Ohio State, Washington, Georgia, and Alabama, all with 1 loss, miss the playoff? And it would be Michigan, Oregon, Florida State, and Texas. That is a realistic scenario. If Michigan, and you can swap Michigan and Ohio State, but Michigan wins, Florida State wins out, all these teams went out. Michigan wins out, Florida State wins out, Washington loses, Oregon wins out, Texas wins out. Because here's the thing with Texas and Alabama. You can't move Alabama ahead of Texas, the head-to-head. Now, Texas looks like the worst team at this point, and they are barely scraping by in every single one of their games. But Texas is the one that's really messing with stuff here because that head-to-head with Alabama puts them ahead. And so no matter what Alabama does, they can't break through because they have the same amount of losses as Texas and the head-to-head edge for Texas. So if Georgia loses, they're going to drop down behind Alabama, but Alabama is going to be behind Texas. So then the SEC gets no one in. That is a crazy scenario to me. That is realistic at this point. Now, if Texas loses, Texas is out, and then let's say Texas loses, Florida State, Oregon, we'll stay with Michigan. I'll get back to that. So those three are in, and then you're looking at a scenario where Alabama's the one Alabama's going to get in at that point. Alabama will get in if Texas doesn't. But Georgia, guys, this fairy dust, fugazi, that Georgia can afford a loss is just not true. Georgia cannot afford a loss. Georgia loses. If Georgia loses, they are in the same boat with an Ohio State or a Washington with one loss. Like, I know they've won for so long, it seems like they're going to get in no matter what. But, guys, no team here has a cushion. There is not a single team in this race right now that has a cushion. So that's Georgia. Georgia, you need to win out. And that goes for every team. Guaranteed to get in, you got to win out. Georgia can win out, though, and they don't need help. Ohio State, same thing. They can win out, they don't need help. Michigan can win out, don't need help. Florida State, they can win out, don't need help. Washington, same thing. Oregon, same thing. Texas, let's go over Texas. Georgia wins, out. Ohio State wins out, we'll say for this scenario. It's really either one of these. The other one's going to drop down. Florida State wins out, and Oregon or Washington win out. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Texas misses. Guys, if you are Texas, you need Florida State to lose. If you are Texas, you need Florida State to lose or Georgia to lose. The Michigan and Ohio State and Washington and Oregon, they will cancel each other out. Out of those 4 teams, they will produce 2 playoff teams. Most likely, unless chaos occurs with Oregon next week against Oregon State. We'll get back to that. But if you're Texas, I guess Texas this week, it really doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, Texas, you need Georgia to lose or Florida State to lose. In either of those scenarios, they're going to fall behind you, and Texas is going to be in a good spot. And that's what we talked about with Alabama, where really Texas needs both SEC teams to miss in order to make it, if that makes sense. That's the scenario Texas is in right now and where they need it. Any of these teams right here, though, it's a winning you're in scenario. They control their own destiny. Not all these teams are making it, and 2 of them are gonna. These 2 are gonna play. Ohio State and Michigan are gonna play next week. And Florida State and Washington and Oregon are going to play the week after. Assuming they still have the same amount of losses in the loss column, 0 and 1, the winner of that game is going to the playoff. Period. I think Oregon's the better team. We'll see what happens. But that's the reality. Florida State, once again, I know they're not the best team, but they control their own destiny, guys. Hate it or not, they're a Power 5 team that's undefeated. That's not... You can't debate that. So Texas is going to need some help. Alabama, they are going to need help as well. Like I said, guys, Alabama cannot just win and get into the playoff. Alabama, if they win, they knock out Georgia, like we talked about previously. These 2 are going to cancel. Let's say Ohio State wins. They win out. Say Florida State wins out. Say Washington, Oregon win out, and say Texas wins out. You're going to have Ohio State, Florida State, Washington or Oregon, and Texas. That's 4 teams. And once again, Texas cannot be jumped by. They can't be jumped by Alabama because of that head-to-head record. So, if you're Alabama, you're going to need to win out, and you are going to need help by having either Florida State lose or Texas lose. So, to repeat, top 6, control your own destiny. Winning, you're in. Win out, and you are in. You slip up once, unless chaos happens, you are done, pretty much. I would give each team a 5 to 10% chance of making it after a loss. Any of these teams, including Oregon, with that one loss. They're in a unique scenario there. Texas, Alabama, Louisville, they're going to need help. Texas needs to win out, like I said, win out, and have either Georgia lose or Florida State lose. Either or. Alabama, they need to win out and have either Texas lose or Florida State lose. So these two are really competing for the spot right here, in my opinion, Texas and Alabama. And they are praying and hoping that either Florida State loses, in both of their cases, and for Texas's case, Georgia loses, and for Alabama's case, Texas loses. And the reason Texas doesn't want Alabama to lose is because they are going to be ahead of them no matter what. If Texas, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but the reality is if Florida State wins out and Texas wins out, Alabama's done no matter what. They don't control their own destiny, is what I'm trying to say. Unless the committee goes against their rules and has them jump them, but that's how it's going to be. Now we get to Louisville. This is an interesting case. And it's very peculiar that Missouri got moved up 5 spots ahead of the Cardinals. And Louisville might have caught in a break because they played it close against Florida. This is why these random games matter. Because maybe they would have jumped them anyway, but having Missouri having a 2-loss team ahead of you like that does not help your case. It makes you need to jump up more spots. Louisville being at 10 this late in the season, they are going to need a lot. Let's go over it. Okay. Number 1 for Louisville, win out. You're going to have to beat Florida State in the championship game, and you're going to need to beat Kentucky. They play Kentucky this week. That's what they're going to need. Okay. So let's see. Let's say Georgia loses to Alabama. Actually, let's say Georgia wins. Let's say Ohio State or Michigan. One of those two are getting in. So that's 2 spots right there. Florida State, they're out of it because you beat them. So that's taken care of. That's the nice thing about Florida State. If you win out, that's automatically taken care of. One of these two are getting in. That's the 3rd spot. You are then going to need Texas to lose. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Ooh. And then it's going to come down to a big debate. Texas will get in over you with 1 loss in a conference championship. I have no doubt. Alabama will be cooked. They'll be done because Georgia wins. Because, you need Georgia to win. Okay, you need Georgia to win, and you need Texas to lose. In that scenario, Louisville will be sitting, Georgia will be in. We'll say Ohio State wins, they'll be in. We'll say, let's say Oregon wins. And now the 4th spot will be between a 1-loss Michigan without a conference championship, a 1-loss Washington without a conference championship, and Louisville. 3 teams for 1 spot. And I'm not going to lie, it's not guaranteed for Louisville to get in. That's what's so difficult because they have looked so shaky that I can't give it to them. They beat my Irish, don't get me wrong. They're a good team. But this 17-point loss to Pitt sticks out like a sore thumb, guys. You cannot have that. I mean, clean up business in the third quarter and you are undefeated. You're sitting pretty. It's not guaranteed, guys. It is not guaranteed. And they just beat Miami by 7. So did Florida State, to be fair. But I mean, Louisville's going to need a lot of help, guys. I'm going to be honest. But at the end of the day, I'll recap it one more time. I know I've been on here for a while. Georgia, winning you're in. And by the way, once again, I'll restate it. For any of the teams in the playoff race, a loss is detrimental and may cost your season. Actually, I take that back. Washington. If they lose this week and win against Oregon, I think they'll still be in. Washington's the only team that can afford a loss, but it's this week. Not next week. Okay. Washington, only team that can afford a loss this upcoming week against Washington State in the Apple Cup. The Cougars, Wazoo, if you will. Only team that can afford a loss. Every other team, every other week, including Washington besides next week, has to win out. Or you're basically done. Outside of the Louisville scenario. Now, Georgia, simple. Winning you're in. Oh, sorry. Okay. We'll try this again. Georgia, winning you're in. Ohio State, winning you're in. Michigan, winning you're in. These two teams in the same exact boat. They're playing each other next week. We'll figure out what happens. Florida State, winning you're in. Washington, winning you're in. Oregon, winning you're in. Texas, win out with a Florida State loss or a Georgia loss, and you are in the playoff, my friend. That's what you need. Win out, Florida State loss, or Georgia loss. Alabama, win out, Texas loss, or Florida State loss. That's what they need. Alabama is win out and a Texas loss or Florida State loss. And then Louisville, once again, they need Georgia to win out. So they need an Alabama loss. Or sorry, I'll say it this way. Georgia to win out. Florida State is taken care of, sorry. So Georgia to win out and a Texas loss. They need both. They need both to happen. So Louisville is win out with a Louisville is win out. Georgia wins out as well. You need that. And a Texas loss within the next 2 weeks. And you have a shot. It's not even guaranteed because you are going to be battling against Michigan or Ohio State and Washington or Oregon. Two of those four plus yourself makes 3 vying for that final spot. And it's not guaranteed. Louisville has the lowest % chance, but I still think they can win out, but I don't even know if they can get it. Honestly, I would not be shocked if they win the ACC and have 1 loss. I wouldn't. But again, Florida State's got that edge because they're undefeated. So I'll check back with you guys next week, but we have some wild stuff going down in college football. My Irish all the way down here. Do they have a chance at the playoff? Let's see. No, they don't. They're done for. They're cooked. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.